A villager admits to viewing little boy porn while wife was in the other room. A villager was arrested after a dispute during a golf cart delivery. Villagers are concerned about the surge in traffic when the new Costco store opens. A lady e-biker was taken to the ER after angrily confronted by a villager. Officials are warming up to a freeze on amenity fee rates. A golf cart thief has been sentenced after stealing a golf cart and loading it on his trailer at Barnes & Noble. A villager's son has been indicted in a drug death at his mother's home. ICE puts a hold on a man from Mexico after a violent attack. How many holes of ones of golf do we get this week? Letters to the editor. And more updates. This and more coming up. This week's news is brought to you by my YouTube and Patreon members. Well, thanks everybody for coming to this week's Friday news and some update news. Before we get any further, let's just say hit that subscribe button so you won't miss anything every week when I release one of these videos. Well, we got a lot of updates today, so let's get to them real quick so we can move on. A thief has been sentenced after loading a stolen golf cart onto a trailer last year at Barnes & Noble in the Villages. Eric Porter, 33, of Ocala, pleaded no contest this past week in Sumter County Court to a charge of grand theft. The Vermont native has been placed on probation for 2 years and has been ordered to perform 100 hours of community service. The golf cart was stolen on Halloween from the parking lot of the bookstore at Lake Sumter Landing. Surveillance camera showed the truck towing the trailer. He pulled up to the area in which the golf cart was parked, according to the arrest report. A man got out of the truck, loaded the golf cart onto the trailer, and drove away. The surveillance camera was able to capture the license plate number of the truck. As I keep saying, don't leave those keys in that golf cart. That's his update. And here's an update on the guy that was on drugs, that him and his girlfriend were living at his mom's house there in the Villages. He gave her some drugs. She died. And here's an update on his predicament. A villager's son has been indicted after a woman was found dead of a drug overdose at his mother's house. Brian William Ducott, 48, is facing a charge of death caused by unlawful distribution of cocaine in connection with the Halloween death of 50-year-old Tracy Jean Miller at his mother's home in the village of Charlotte. Ducott was indicted by a grand jury this week in Sumter County Court. State Attorney Bill Gladson and Sheriff Pat Breeden held a press conference Friday morning to announce the indictment. Detective Scott Pettit, who has worked the case, was also present at the press conference. Well, that's our update. We'll have more on this case to come. And here's an update on something I think we reported last week or maybe the week before last. A villager has escaped prosecution in a road rage dispute over the use of golf cart lanes. The prosecutor's office announced this past week that 68-year-old Stephen Neil Kaufman of the village of El Cortez will not be prosecuted on felony charges of aggravated assault and battery on a person over the age of 65. According to the announcement of no information filed in Lake County Court, the victim in the case no longer wishes to see Kaufman prosecuted. That's his update. And this one here goes back a day or two. A villager has been sentenced after pulling a gun on his wife after accusing her of infidelity. Michael John Fahey, 68, of the village of DeSoto, had been placed on probation for 3 years after pleading no contest this past week in Sumter County Court to a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And that'll be his update. And here's an update that I don't know what's going to happen with this guy. Officials are offering no sympathy for a villager facing a more than $50,000 penalty in the sod versus stone battle. Gary Mang of the La Crescenta Villas owes $39,273 in fines and $14,323 in legal fees as a result of a public hearing in June 2023 in which he and several of his neighbors were found in violation of deed compliance rules for having stone rather than sod in their landscaping beds. Many residents of La Crescenta Villas argued that they were sold their homes with the stone landscaping already in place and were unaware it was a violation of deed restrictions. I have no need to read any more. I've read it 2 or 3 times for you, but that's their update. Looks like he's going to pay a hefty fine. And here's an update on our problem child living with grandmother up at the historical area. A problem child in the Villages had been sentenced after his latest attack on his grandmother. John David Newell, 27, who resides at 1701 Hilton Head Boulevard on the historic side of the Villages, pleaded no contest earlier this month in Lake County Court to a charge of battery on a person over the age of 65. He has been placed on 3 years of drug offender probation. Neil, who has been free on bond after repeatedly damaging a gate on the historic side, was involved in an altercation January 12 with his girlfriend in the back bedroom at the home when his 74-year-old grandmother attempted to intervene, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. Well, I'm not going to read any more. You guys have heard it before. Well, that's his update. Grandma, do yourself a favor. Kick that boy out of here. He ain't nothing but trouble for everybody, including you. And here's another update on another grandson. A problem grandson has entered a plea after a ruckus at a recreation center this past week in the Villages. Anthony Santangelo, 46, who lives with his elderly grandparents in a Villa Valdosta in the village of Bel Air, pleaded not guilty to a felony charge of battery in Marion County Court. He is being represented by a public defender's office and remains free on a $1,000 bond. That's his update. That's our tax dollars going to work right there. A competency evaluation has been ordered for a villager's son charged with terrorizing a neighbor. Joshua Joseph Duffy Sandicino, 35, continues to be held without bond after his arrest more than a year ago. A judge has ordered a mental evaluation for Duffy Sandicino, who has a history of violent attacks in Florida's friendliest hometown. He had been living with his mother on Dyson Loop in the village of De Luna, where he was arrested March the 8th, 2024 on felony charges of burglary and battery. That's his update. A villager has lost his driver's license after crashing his golf cart at Spanish Springs. Ronald Thomas Deegan, 68, who lives in the village of Silver Lake on the historic side of the Villages, will lose his driver's license for 6 months and has been placed on probation for 1 year after pleading no contest earlier this month in Lake County Court to a charge of driving under the influence. He was represented by a public defender's office. That'll be his update. And I believe this is our last update. In my mind, this is the saddest one here, really. A toxicology report prompted an arrest warrant that was issued for a villager's daughter who was found unresponsive last year in her mother's car at Colony Plaza. Rebecca Jean Parks, 37, who lives in the Double Palm Villas in the village of Duval, was arrested this past week on warrants charging her with driving under the influence and driving while license suspended. The New York native was unresponsive when she was found on November the 8th in the white Hyundai parked at Walgreens at Colony Plaza. The spouse of a Walgreens employee was picking up his wife after work when he spotted Parks in the car and she looked dead. Sumpter County Sheriff's deputies and EMS personnel responded to the scene. Parks was transported to UF Health Leesburg Hospital where she was administered 2 doses of Narcan. I only have one thing to say about all this. I'm not going to pick on her for being a drug addict, and as you guys know if you watch me, I have no sympathy for alcoholics or drug addicts, either one, because it's a life choice and it's a bad one for you. But this young lady, if she doesn't change her course, I hope she's watching. I'm looking right at you. If you don't change your course, this is not going to end well with you at all. Mom, Dad, Grandma, and Grandpa is going to be coming to the funeral to pay their last respects of you in your coffin. You better stop, and you better stop now. Okay, that's going to be the update, so let's get on with some more news. A Nicaraguan illegally behind the wheel arrested near Everglades Rec Center. Jose Adrian Reales Castillo, 47 of Orlando, was driving a vehicle at about 7 p.m. Tuesday at Marshbend Trail and Warm Springs Avenue when he was pulled over after a check revealed the registered owner of the vehicle did not have a valid driver's license, according to the Sumpter County Sheriff's Office. A deputy discovered that Reales Castillo has a temporary learner's permit which had been suspended. The report noted that the native of Nicaragua spoke minimal English. He was arrested on a charge of driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Sumpter County Detention Center where a hold was put on his custody by U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. A Venezuelan was arrested after he was caught driving a vehicle with a covered license plate. Yeah, that always works. William Johan Fernandez Aravello, 32, was driving a silver Toyota Corolla at about 1 p.m. Sunday on State Road 471 when he was pulled over by Sumpter County Sheriff's deputy who noticed that the vehicle had an unlawful covered license plate. During a traffic stop, Fernandez Aravello handed the deputy a Venezuelan identification card and indicated he does not speak English. The deputy verified that Fernandez Aravello has never obtained a driver's license in the United States. He was arrested on a charge of driving without a license and issued a verbal warning for an illicit license plate cover. He was booked at Sumpter County Detention Center where U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement placed a hold on his custody. A villager was arrested after allegedly shoving a dog walker at Brownwood Paddock Square. A man said he had been walking his dog on the sidewalk at about 7 p.m. Friday at Brownwood when he bumped shoulders with a man walking in the opposite direction, according to the arrest report from Wildwood Police Department. The dog walker said to the other man, later identified as 71-year-old Bruce Belden Way of the Sand Hill Villas in the village of Duval. Way, in an intentionally aggressive manner, shoved the dog walker's right shoulder, causing him to stumble backwards. Way told police that the dog walker intentionally ran into him, and Way claimed he was just trying to protect his girlfriend. The report noted that Way appeared intoxicated, although he told police he had consumed a single glass of wine. Whew, must have been really strong. An independent witness told police that Way shoved the dog walker and shouted at him. The witness said the dog walker had taken no retaliation action. He was arrested on a charge of battery. He was booked at the Sumpter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. You know, sometimes when I'm around the square and stuff, and I read this stuff, and I see a lot that I've not videoed or anything, but sometimes I think, you know how you have cameras on the rear of your vehicle, and then you have a dash cam in case something happens around you that people will deny, but you got a dash cam to kind of protect yourself. Sometimes I'm thinking we should walk around with cameras on us like cops do, just to protect ourselves in case somebody like this does something stupid. Then they want to lie about it. You can just show the cop, well, look at my video, you know? A villager is facing 30 criminal counts after admitting to law enforcement that he enjoyed looking at pornography involving young boys while his wife was in the other room. Jeffrey Lynn Weaver, 68, of the village of Cason Hammock, was booked without bond Thursday at the Sumter County Detention Center on felony charges of possession of child pornography. The investigation began in January after a cyber tip about Weaver's alleged activities was received by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. He was said to be using 2 Yahoo email accounts. A search warrant was issued, and Wildwood Police Department officers went to Weaver's home at 892 Hubbard Loop, not far from the Cason Hammock Pool and Postal Station. When police showed up at his house, he admitted he has a problem with pornography. Weavers led officers to his home office, unlocked his computer, and began showing them the files. Weaver told police he would look up and view the images while his wife was in the other room, according to the arrest report. He said he would view the pornographic materials and masturbate to reach sexual gratification. A review of the pornographic files revealed little boys ranging in the ages from 8 to 12 years old in sexual provocative situations. The boys were seen pulling down their pants, naked, and some were holding penis-shaped sex toys. Weaver admitted he has had a problem with pornography for most of his life and needed to stop this behavior. He said he had downloaded hundreds of images. Weaver said he used the Yahoo email accounts to try to stay under the radar. You know, this being a so-called retirement community, there's just too much of this shit going on down here. And nobody in the wherewithal is doing anything to slow this down. We're not vetting anybody. We're not doing anything. Retirement community, my ass. A driver who lost his driver's license due to a drunk driving arrest was nabbed with marijuana near the Villages. Austin Scott Bronson, 27 of Wildwood, was driving a white pickup, pulling a trailer at about 5 p.m. Tuesday on US 301 at Warm Springs Avenue when he made a right turn and did not come to a complete stop at the stop sign, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. During a traffic stop, Bronson admitted he did not have a valid driver's license. A records check revealed he had been classified as a habitual offender due to the conviction for driving under the influence in 2021 and 4 previous convictions for driving while license suspended. He was also in possession of a Ziploc bag which contained marijuana. Bronson was arrested on a felony charge of driving while license suspended and a misdemeanor charge of possession of marijuana. He was also issued a warning for running a stop sign. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $3,000 bond. A villager riding an electric bicycle was taken to the emergency room after she was angrily confronted by a villager in a golf cart. The 71-year-old woman was riding an e-bike at about 11 a.m. Wednesday on the multimodal path along Marshbend Trail when she came to the entrance of Corbin Trail, according to an arrest report from the Wildwood Police Department. Joseph Robert Malensk, 56, of the village of Monarch Grove, was driving a golf cart when he reached the intersection and yelled to her to stop at the stop sign. The woman made a comment that the golf cart was required to stop at the stop sign. What does she mean by that? Golf carts have to stop, but bicycles don't? Because if that's what she's saying, she is 100% wrong. Malensk and the lady e-biker began cursing at each other. Can you picture this? She was behind the golf cart when Minsk slammed on his brakes and stopped the golf cart in the lane of travel. He got out of his golf cart and approached the woman, pushing her off her bicycle and onto the roadway. There's no excuse for that. An old lady, and you're pushing this old lady. Ain't you the man? She hit her head on the pavement. She complained of neck and back pain and was transported by ambulance to UF Health Brownwood Emergency Room. Neck pain and back pain. You understand what she's trying to tell you, right? Lawsuit. Malensk was arrested on a felony charge of battery. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $5,000 bond. I swear I think some of these people are mental. A man from Mexico was arrested after a violent attack on a woman in Wildwood. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has placed a hold on 39-year-old Juan Rafael Trujillo Hernandez, who was arrested Monday on charges of simple assault and battery. He was being held at the Sumter County Detention Center. Trejo Hernandez was apparently intoxicated when he became extremely irate and repeatedly punched a woman in her left eye, nose, and mouth, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. A second individual attempted to intervene, but Trejo Hernandez ordered him to get away and threatened to kick his ass. When deputies arrived on the scene, Trejo Hernandez was identified by his Mexican passport. Say goodbye to America. We reported this in a news update last week, but here's a little bit of a report. Plus, I have pictures that I didn't have last week. A murder suspect, allegedly part of the MS-13 gang, apparently openly operated a drywall service business for the past several years in the Villages. Jose Ezequiel Gomez Maravella was named Friday in a press conference held by the Attorney General Pam Bondi, in which she announced the arrest of the MS-13 gang member. Gomez Maravella is tied to brutal murders in which took place more than a decade ago in South Florida when he would have been a teenager. Gomez Maravella, now 29, and listing a Center Hill address in Sumter County, was arrested in March by FBI agents and booked at the Marion County Jail. A day after his arrest, Gomez Maravella appeared before Magistrate Judge Philip Lamons in U.S. Middle District Court in Ocala. After hearing the evidence and based on the defendant's waiver of identity hearing, I find that Jose Ezequiel Gomez Maravella is the person named in the warrant for arrest. Lamons declared as a result of the hearing. A court document noted that an interpreter was used to assist Gomez Maravella during the hearing. Gomez Maravella remains in federal custody, according to Bondi and other law enforcement officers who spoke in Friday's press conference. In 2022, Gomez Maravella, who apparently rebranded himself as Jose Gomez, moved to Center Hill in Sumter County and founded Revolution Repair LLC. For more than 3 years, he has offered drywall repair, painting, and water damage repair to clients, mainly in the Villages. He sought business through Nextdoor. That's like Facebook to me. Nextdoor, Facebook, I don't trust none of them. A popular online site in Florida's friendliest hometown. His website includes a testimonial from a villager who boasted about his work. You know, back when Nextdoor first started in this area, I was contacted, because I was the only YouTuber here at that time, if I wanted to run that, be the manager of it here in this area. And I said no, because it sounds like a place where a bunch of nutballs are going to be, thieves and people that you can't trust, and that interferes with my reputation here. And I said no, and I'm glad I did. The newest and the longest-serving members of the Amenity Authority Committee appeared to agree that a freeze on amenity rates may be in the best interest of residents in the northern sections of the Villages. I like the idea of a freeze, said AAC member William Williamson at Wednesday's meeting at Savannah Center. He was recently appointed to succeed Sandy Mott as the representative for the Lady Lake County portion of the Villages. Seniors are getting hammered in the economy. Everything is going up, Williams said. With the tariffs, the stock market is going into the toilet. Insurance rates are sky high. Property taxes are going up. Meanwhile, Don Deacon, who has been serving as the AAC since 2014, said he is seeing growing support for a freeze on amenity rates, with the Village's homeowner advocates weighing in with a recent editorial. The VHA is known for its close allegiance with the developer. However, there are legal issues which continue to cloud a possible amenity rate freeze by the AAC. There is a legal opinion that the AAC should remain in lockstep with the Project-Wide Advisory Committee, which oversees amenities south of County Road 466. Lawyers. The AAC is in much sounder financial shape than PWAC, and some AAC members believe there is room for a rate freeze for residents north of County Road 466. PWAC is not in the same position. Do you think it's time for the AAC to freeze the amenity rates? Do you? Leave a comment below. Let us know. I'm sure they read them. A villager was arrested after a dispute broke out during a golf cart delivery at his home. Officers were called at about 6:30 p.m. Monday to a home on Hindy Place in the village of Moultrie Creek, where a man with a truck and a trailer said he had attempted to deliver 2 golf carts to 57-year-old Eric Bebchik, according to the arrest report from the Wildwood Police Department. The delivery driver said he informed Bebchik that he would need to pay by either cash or check, but Bebchik refused. Bebchik threatened the delivery driver and jumped into his face. When an officer attempted to speak to Bebchik, the officer detected the odor of alcohol coming from Bebchik's breath. The report noted that Bebchik stumbled out of the residence. The delivery driver reloaded the golf carts onto the trailer as police officers looked on. The officers had their backs turned when Bebchik charged from behind and once again threatened the delivery driver. A police attempted to intervene, but Bebchik, with his chest puffed out, deliberately bumped into one of the officers. Bebchik used profanity throughout the entire incident. He also would not cooperate with the officers and would not give them his name. He was arrested on charges of simple assault and resisting arrest. He was booked at Sumter County Detention Center. Bond was set at $750. Man, some people just can't handle their alcohol. Jeez. When Betty Harmon and her husband purchased their home in the Villages in 2007, the area still had a rural vibe. When most of us bought our houses, our streets ended in a pasture. Harmon told the Community Development District 3 Board of Supervisors at a meeting in Savannah Center. Over the years, nearby retail has bloomed. Hobby Lobby opened up in 2023. A new Costco is being built next door. Harmon lives on Woodridge Drive near the intersection of Southern Trace in the village of Polo Ridge. The traffic has grown worse through the years, but the worst might be yet to come. She and her neighbors are increasingly worried about the volume of vehicles using her neighborhood as a shortcut. She says speeding and accidents have become the norm. Representative of Sumter County Sheriff's Office and deputies are regularly stationed on Woodridge Drive and ticketing on an almost daily basis. And how many times have I said, if traffic and stuff like that bothers you, do not buy on a cut-through street, because everybody's going to use it for their own convenience. Just because you have a pasture field behind your house, just because you have a water view behind your house, none of that is guaranteed to stay there forever. None of it. If a water dries up because of a sinkhole, you have no say-so about it. The developer might decide, we're not fixing it, and that's it. You're not going to have a water view anymore. Just keep this in mind when you buy this stuff at a high price. Okay, how many holes in ones of golf did we get this week? Looks like one. David DuPont of the village of Collier got his third hole-in-one on Saturday at hole number 2 at the Bonita Pass Executive Golf Course. He got his first hole-in-one at the Candia Woods Golf Course in Candia, New Hampshire. He got his second lucky ace February 17, 2023 at hole number 3 at the Sarasota Executive Golf Course here in the Villages. Well, congratulations on your hole-in-one there, David. How about we do everybody's favorite letters to the editor? I got a lot to choose from, too, this week, so I don't really know which ones. I don't want to have too many. It bores everybody. Let me see. How about the county commissioners ever drive in the Villages? Hope we aren't priced out of the Villages. Villages needs to keep Harold Schwartz's promises. Orange Blossom disputes amenity fee. Why is MS-13 gang member working in the Villages? That's a very good question. Let me just say this. We as residents here, there's no law that says I have to vet anybody I hire. So if you pick your newspaper up, or if you're going to Neighborhood or any of them websites or any of them apps, I don't believe in any of them. You're hiring people that you know nothing about. You don't know if they're licensed. You don't know anything. You can ask for all this stuff, but they come up with this fake stuff all the time off the internet, and they print it off and show it to you, and you just take it for you don't know. So I think it's going to be mostly us. We are the ones that's going to have to stop hiring people out of a newspaper without vetting them. To the editor, I look around at the number of apartment buildings and subdivisions being constructed, and I wonder if the county commissioners ever drive in the Villages. When you realize that every apartment and house is going to add 1 or 2 vehicles to the traffic, how will we ever get anywhere? It seems like the infrastructure should be built before the approval of all this construction. There are 2 huge subdivisions being built on Rolling Acres Road, which is a 2-lane road, and traffic there is usually bumper to bumper before these homes are even finished. There is a super Walmart going up on Morris Boulevard where traffic is already backed up most of the time. I just don't understand the thinking other than just plain greed. You got it. Follow the money. That's sent in by Michael Utter of the village of Sanibel. Well, Michael, what can I tell you? Politics and politicians are always out after themselves and nobody else. Who's got the fattest checkbook? Ask yourself that question. To the editor, I agree we need a solution to help with our amenity fees. Most of us are on fixed incomes and the yearly upcharge is getting harder and harder to pay. We love living in the villages and we are hoping that we won't be priced out. That's sent in by Kale Zabel from the village of Rio Ponderosa. Thank you, Kay. To the editor, Harold Schwartz promised us we could live like a millionaire on a retirement budget. That's not exactly true what he said. He says live like a millionaire on a Chevrolet budget. That's what he said. He promised us a safe place for senior citizens on fixed incomes to live out their retirement years. Please roll our amenity cap back on. Thousands of us need this in order to stay in our homes. This is a nightmare. We planned well for our retirement, but now the village's management keeps moving the goalpost with more and more fee increases. Many residents believe a promise was broken in 2019 when the AAC, which oversees amenities north of 466, agreed to abandon the cap. The cap on amenity fees was a selling point when we purchased our home. Please do this for us. To whom can we turn if not to you? That's sent in by Lisa Anders, a resident of the villages. Well said there, Lisa. You're going to hear pros and cons on both sides of that coin there about the amenity fees should be back on. We planned well. And I have said the people that moved here 15, 20 years ago, maybe longer, you're the one taking the brunt of all this. Your income back then was a lot smaller when it comes to Social Security and things like that than it is today. And I don't have an answer for you. I really don't. But I will say, Harold had a great idea, and the corporations today and the many different companies that the developers companies have, and lawyers get involved, and politics gets involved, things is just turning around to the point where I'm not sure this can be called a retirement community anymore. Nobody else calls it that. It used to be called that all the time. I still have the original tape that they sent you in a cardboard briefcase. Villages, a place to retire to, the greatest retirement community in Florida, Central Florida. It goes on and on and on. They don't call it that anymore. To the editor, an MS-13 gang member and murder suspect was arrested in the villages. He was hanging drywall here. His employer should have been prosecuted for employing an illegal, known gang member. All he had to do was look at the tats that most MS-13 and TGA members adorn their bodies with. That's sent in by Phil Berkowitz from the village of Tamarind Grove. Well, Phil, you are correct. I'm not going to deny anything you say here is not being correct. You are correct. But I will say, I don't know what the rules are in the state of Florida when it comes to employers and employment, but this guy didn't work for anybody. This guy worked for himself. He had his own company. Who's going to vet that? Nobody's going to vet that. They have a job that goes up for bid. He goes in with his company. He makes a bid. He wins the bid. He does the job. That's how it works. So he snuck by on this one. He's been sneaking by on these kind of things for many, many years. We need to start doing our own homework. You don't vet somebody when you hire them. As a resident, I don't vet people. I just call a company. That company usually subcontracts this work to other people. I depend on them to vet these people that they send to my house. But do they? Apparently not. But thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. To the editor, I bought a home here in Orange Blossom Gardens almost 2 years ago. When I bought it, the amenity fee was $189 just for amenities. That was on my first bill. My second bill jumped to $232. That was just for the amenities, not including water, sewer, garbage, etc. It went up $41 a month. I called and their excuse was it's going up 3 to 5% every 3 years. That is bullshit, because I know people who bought in this area 1 year before me and their amenity fees are still the same amount as when they purchased their home almost 3 years ago. I checked with all my neighbors. No one on my block had amenities that went up $41 at the time mine did. So now they are going to raise them again. That will be my cue to get out of Dodge. That's sent in by Patty Bolger from the village of Orange Blossom Gardens. Well, thanks, Patty. I'm sorry you're having all that kind of trouble. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. And good luck to you. I hope you find out what your answers are. Well, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I appreciate all of you that come and watch the news and subscribe to my channel and leave comments. All that helps the channel. And I want to give a great thanks to my members, my Patreon members, and my YouTube members. And if I can convince all the YouTube members to go over to Patreon, you can save a couple of bucks if you even go there. Because all that information that we do about the get-togethers, the little lunches we do once in a while and things like that, it's all on Patreon, and it goes to Discord. You only get the Discord invitation from me if you're on Patreon. I'm really doing the best I can do to try to close out my YouTube memberships. It's just too much trouble for me, and YouTube doesn't do anything to help out. Plus, YouTube restricts so much anymore. You know, if you say something with the word bang bang in it, they limit your videos. If you talk about something that's controversial, they try to hush you up. I'm tired of that kind of thing. So go to Patreon. I don't have near the restrictions there as I do here. Go to Patreon. You're going to see a lot of stuff there. I appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm going to get out of here and just simply say, be well, stay safe, be aware, take care of your health for God's sake, because that's really all you have to live for is your good health. And I'll see all of you on the other side.
So don't leave your key in that golf cart.